after 635 days, is finally the day that our family, our friends, and our community have prayed for. Today is the day justice will be served.
An Ohio man admits to murdering his ex-girlfriend on their high school graduation trip to Myrtle Beach, Natalie Martin's father, addressing his daughter's murderer.
And her lips were blue because she was dead. Because Blake Linkous wrapped his greasy, cowardly hands around her neck and he strangled her life out.
I go through the emotional hearing and the South Carolina judge's decision to sentence Blake Linkous to decades behind bars. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. On the day that his murder trial was set to begin, 20-year-old Blake Linkous pleaded guilty to one count of murder nearly 2 years after he took the life of his ex-girlfriend, Natalie Martin. This happened when they were on a graduation trip in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Natalie was a beautiful 18-year-old girl who had just graduated from Philo High School in Ohio in May of 2023. Natalie and Blake had started dating when they were sophomores. They were high school sweethearts. But they broke up before graduation after Blake shoved Natalie during an argument. As Blake Linkous appeared in court and pleaded guilty to murder, the prosecutor went over the timeline and what was going on in the weeks leading up to Natalie's murder.
If we go back to May 5th, this happened June 6th, back in May 5th, you hear the residual effects of this push incident that resulted in the breakup. And Mr. Linkous texts Ms. Martin and says, quote, "If you hate me so much, I just want you to try to find someone else so I can beat their ass and feel a lot better about it." That's a common theme that you see about a jealousy, controlling situation and the run-up to this. In the course of Mr. Linkous' statement, he says he was mad at her because she was texting another boy down here in Myrtle Beach, and that's what gave rise to his anger, this way he said in the statement. So,
the solicitor in Horry County, South Carolina, said that Linkous had a jealous streak. He was controlling and insecure. There were text messages found on Natalie's phone that raised concern.
Natalie, in response to some of these text messages, says to Blake, "Your texts are such BS. You want to come to a particular party because you thought it was going to be being around other guys, which is why you had to be a prick like always and call me up a bunch of names and sus and everything else. I don't know about it, though. I am honestly unbothered by your ignorance anymore because I have tried to help you and show you what is right and what is wrong and what is okay and what is not okay. And I have come to realize that it is impossible and you will always do you. Your actions are not okay at all, and it's annoying, but I'm over it, honestly. All I have to say is if you want a happy life, you need to fix your shit. But I'm done with it, and I can't help you anymore. I don't need your coolant or your base. I'll be just fine. Please do not bother me at all today. I do not want to talk to you at all. Please respect that. If you cannot, I will absolutely block you on everything. And if you get any of your friends to try to harass me, I will block them on everything as well. Please stop harassing Brooklyn because it's annoying for her as well. And this is her boss, and she has to sit there while you treat me like that and be in the middle of it all. It's so embarrassing when you do that. And you can call my mom, but that just makes you look bigger than you actually are. I just want to let it alone. Please respect that. Now, that was 2 weeks before she was trying to death on Mr. Linkous.
I want to tell you about a free app that I've tried called Upside. It gives you actual cash back on things that you buy each day, like gas, groceries, and takeout. Upside gives you real money that you can transfer straight into your bank account. When I pump gas or go to Dunkin' Donuts for a drink, I use Upside, and I've even used it when ordering pizza on the app. Here's how it works. Download Upside, claim an offer for whatever you're buying, and pay as usual using a debit or credit card. Follow the steps and get paid. To find out how much you could earn, click the link in the description to download Upside or scan that QR code that you see right there on your screen and use our promo code CRIMEFIX to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's promo code CRIMEFIX for an extra 25 cents back on your first gallon of gas. Despite their breakup, Blake and Natalie went on the graduation trip to Myrtle Beach with other friends. On June 6th, 2023, the group of students attended an event, and on the way back to the hotel where they were all staying, Blake opened up to the group about how he wasn't doing well post-breakup. He told the group that he didn't want to live without Natalie, and even mentioned how he tried to take his own life. That night, Natalie was found dead on the floor of the hotel room. According to the prosecutor, the two got into a heated argument over her texting another guy. Blake spent hours in the hotel room with Natalie's body after strangling her. In order for the judge to accept Blake Linkous's guilty plea, she needed to ask him a series of questions about the decision.
Agree or disagree with the facts?
Yes, ma'am.
Agree or disagree?
Listen,
Feel anything needs to be changed or added to the facts? Are you pleading guilty, sir, because you're guilty? Do you understand you're entitled to a jury trial?
yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that we have a panel ready and still ready that the court can qualify and select a jury if it is your desire to go forward with a jury trial?
Yes, ma'am.
And knowing all of that, do you wish to waive your right to a jury trial?
No, ma'am.
Do you understand the question? Do you want a jury trial or do you not want a jury
I
trial?
do not want to hear you.
Okay, so do you waive your right to a jury trial?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any deals the court has not been told about?
No, ma'am.
Have you been satisfied with your attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Has he done everything you've asked or expected?
Yes, ma'am.
Any complaints about the services?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone promised you anything to plead guilty?
No, ma'am.
Has anyone threatened or forced you?
No, ma'am.
Are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily and of your own will?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you understood my questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you need to ask any questions?
No, ma'am.
Have you been truthful?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you have the right to appeal this guilty plea and sentence?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand you have to do that in writing within 10 days of today?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you cannot afford an attorney for that process, that one will be appointed to you at no cost?
Yes, ma'am.
I find there's a substantial factual basis for the plea that the defendant has entered the plea freely, voluntarily, knowingly, and intelligently, with the advice and assistance of counsel that he's indicated to the court is satisfied, and the court qualifies the plea. Anything further from the state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then it was time for Judge Deidre Jefferson to hear from members of Natalie's family. They had traveled to South Carolina prepared for a trial, but instead, Blake Linkous pleaded guilty. Natalie's father, Jesse Martin, talked about the pain of losing his daughter, and then Blake Linkous being let out on bail as he awaited trial.
We realize we're not going to see our little boy again. Right here alongside of it. That's that. Then we go home, a year or two later, the judge slammed the gavel and says, for the price of a used SUV, your daughter's murder can go home for the next 635 days. 635 days, he's been living his life, running around, doing whatever he wants to do. I'm not here to argue about policies and procedures and the law proceedings in the state of South Carolina. I know that I'm over my head over that. But, the reason he was granted bond by Judge Cooper is because he wasn't violent. I think my daughter would make it different. But whether it was violent. 635 days. That's 2 Father's Days. That's 2 Thanksgivings. That's 2 Christmases. It's an Easter. And particularly a painful Mother's Day. 635 days of every day, me waking up and deciding whether is this the day that I don't care about the judicial system? Is this the day that I don't care about consequences anymore? Because it doesn't feel like anybody else does. 635 days of that is impacting your daughter. It's impacting on your own mental health, your own state of mind, trying to do it work every day, trying to live your life, trying to be happy about simple things, while your daughter's murderer is eating his mother's food at home, laying his head on his pillow.
Natalie's father told Judge Jefferson that he's only left with memories of Natalie, and they're not all good.
And, in my mind, I got a slideshow, if you will, that I play of just time with my daughter. Thoughts, positive moments, that slideshow because it's like, it flashes in front of your eyes, you know? You got this moment, that moment, that moment. And no matter what, the beginning or the end of that slideshow, Your Honor, is when I last saw her. That was in her car. She looked beautiful as always, but she looked sad. And her lips were a little bit blue. And the reason that she was sad looking and her lips were blue, because she was dead. Because Blake Linkous wrapped his greasy, cowardly hands around her neck and he strangled her life out. And then somebody, after that, the state of South Carolina said, let's let this guy go home. Again, for the price of a used SUV. Let's let him go home. We'll wait 635 days. Thank goodness we're here today.
Jesse Martin then told the judge about what he'd like to see happen to Blake Linkous.
You know, I think what's happened is happened. There's nothing that you're going to do or say here today that's going to make me feel any better. You going to let me smell his hair burn? That's what I want. That's what would make me happy. But we're not here about making me happy. You ask this gentleman what he recommends. I don't want you to ask him what he recommends. I want you owe the people of South Carolina, you owe the citizens and taxpayers of Horry County, you owe them, the knowledge to know that the judicial system has their back. Because right now, from where I'm standing, it hasn't felt that. You need to be setting an example, sending a message to criminals, to law-abiding citizens and criminals alike, that we're going to do what's right. In 635 days of my daughter's murder out running around in Ohio, I don't know what the people of Horry County think, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't add up, Your Honor. So I'm asking you, to 40 years, 35 years, none of that means anything to me. I want you to sentence somebody that wraps their hands around an innocent woman's neck and strangles them to death. I want you to sentence them how you see it for you. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Then Natalie's best friend, Brooklyn Farrell, spoke. She talked about the beautiful best friend that she'll never see again.
It has been 635 days since I've heard your voice. I am currently sitting in a courtroom begging for your justice. The weather today has a bitterness of cold still lingering from the second winter season without you. Soon I will be hunting turkeys with your dad and planting flowers on your grave with your mom, which are all things you love to do. Your mom has become my best friend. I see you in her every day. From her laugh to her strength, she reminds me of you. I often wonder what could have been, you and I. But you see, my fate is up to me, but your fate was up to a set of hands wrapped around your neck. Our 12-year friendship was stripped away by the bare hands of someone else 635 days ago. On June 6, 2023, not only your life was taken, but most of mine was too. That day will forever be embedded into my brain. I vividly remember crying so hard and so long that my eyes were practically swollen shut. Knowing that I would never get back even a breath of time that I shared with you destroyed my will to live. I had fallen so far into the darkness, I had forgotten what it was like to be immensely full of true happiness. But remembering who you were as a person has helped me to wake up every day and make something of myself. You were inspiring, caring, goofy, outgoing, but more important were my best friend. You were the one to be there for me and walk alongside me through every footstep of life. I believe that is what I miss about you most, your presence. How on any day I could look over in the seat beside me and see your piercing blue eyes and breathtaking blonde hair, looking back at me and sharing a heartfelt laugh. I would do anything to hear your laugh one last time. Now the only thing that I have left of you is our memories of this necklace I wear, which holds the ashes of your once full of life body. No goodbye text, goodbye call, or goodbye hug. It's crazy how much my life has changed without you here. The loneliness that creeps beside me, echoing in a distance every day. How we went from talking and joking about making our own TV show to now my phone lighting up from messages of news broadcasters wanting to make a documentary of your murder.
And then Brooklyn asked Judge Jefferson to sentence Blake Linkous to life without parole.
I truly believe that these feelings will never fully go away. But today, after 635 days, is finally the day that our family, our friends, and our community have prayed for. Today is the day justice will be served. Justice. Justice for you, your life, and everything you never got the chance to become. We love you. Throughout school, something Natalie and I did was write each other letters and pass them off to one another in the hallways. I still have every letter Natalie ever gave me. As I sat in an empty hotel room last night, tears flooding from my face, I timed approximately how long it would take me to read this to you today. In total, it took me about 3.5 minutes. In the 3.5 minutes it took me to read this to you, Your Honor, I wanted you to live, breathe, and feel just what 3.5 minutes in my life is like. The sniffles of noses that you hear, the tears that fall not only from my eyes, but from all of Natalie's supporters here today. And just the feeling of true, antagonizing pain and desperation. This is and has become who I am as a person. 3.5 minutes, around the same amount of time it took the defendant to manually strangle my best friend. 3.5 minutes, he had to change his mind just for a second and allow my best friend to live. 3.5 minutes, the amount of time Natalie had to sit there and hopelessly fight for her life.
Blake Linkous decided not to address the court. He had the chance to do so, but his attorney spoke on his behalf.
From the first moment that I had an opportunity to sit across the desk from Blake Linkous, he told me, and this is a direct quote, that he had killed his best friend. And he would accept any punishment anybody decided was appropriate for him. That's the way our relationship started. I've been doing this a long time. I was not convinced, even after having received the discovery and the recorded statements of my client to law enforcement, that the whole story had been told. I knew that at least on my client's part, that time had been fueled by alcohol. I knew that it was fueled by jealousy. I knew that it was fueled by confusion on his part. But I suspected suspected something other than a text that came in that prompted him to act in the way that he did. And make no mistake about this, from the very beginning, there's been, I mentioned in my pretrial brief, this is a mitigated guilt case. It always has been.
There's no question that Blake Linkous took Natalie Martin's life, but his lawyer claimed to have found information that may have resulted in a manslaughter conviction at trial.
But as his attorney, quite frankly, with little help from my client, I was not convinced that all of the facts were available to me in order to counsel him about what the best course of action would be. And quite frankly, I pressured him time and time again. If there's something else that needs to be fairly considered about your case, I need to know about it because I've got to advise you about it. We were scheduled for an arraignment, and leading up to that arraignment, quite frankly, the intention was, and it has been for my client, to enter a plea at that time to murder, because quite frankly, nothing in the facts provided any argument for any sufficient legal provocation in connection with the case. His parents pressured him. We were very clear. We had no desire for him to manufacture some information in order to better his position. But if there was something we needed to consider, or I needed to consider, and counsel him on, I needed to know it then. That's when he advised me of something I believe, had it been credible to a jury, certainly if it had been credible to the court, it would have resulted in at least a jury charge for voluntary manslaughter. And the potential was there that a jury could return that verdict.
Blake Linkous's attorney then explained how his client came to the decision to plead guilty.
I discussed at length, in great detail, the logistics of the trial, what it would look like, what it would mean to his family, what it would mean to Natalie's family. And after about 3 hours together, he looked at me and he said, I don't want to do this. Do what? I don't want to go to trial. I never want to go to trial. I was aware of his reluctance, but at that point, it became clear to me that any decision other than pleading guilty as charged would not be his decision. It would be a combination of other decisions. We talked at great length about what that means. He's maintained that position, quite frankly, from the very day I met him. He's been of that opinion. And he explains that to me in this way. He kills his best friend. There is no excuse for that. There's nothing he can do to remedy that, to restore that. The only thing he can do, and the only thing he's been prepared to do since the very beginning, was to take responsibility for it and accept the punishment.
Members of Blake Linkous's family chose to address the court in the form of letters. The judge took a brief recess to read the letters before returning to the courtroom to deliver Linkous his fate.
Not only was Ms. Martin's life lost, but in essence, Mr. Linkous's life, for all intents and purposes, was lost as well as just the sheer agony of this, of the victim's family, and now the aftermath that Mr. Linkous's family must also face in light of the fact that their child took the life of someone that they knew, and probably considered as well a part of the family based on the letters that were presented to the court. And under those circumstances, the minimum certainly would not be appropriate. However, I do think that the state has requested is more than appropriate under the circumstances. And sir, you'll be sentenced to the State Department of Corrections for a period of 45 years. You'll get credit pursuant to 1340, which will be calculated by the Department of Corrections. Thank you very much.
Blake Linkous was spared from spending his entire life in prison. He will be released when he's 65. Unfortunately for Natalie's family, they only got 18 years with her. In her obituary, Natalie's family described her as a free, pure, and wild spirit with a contagious laugh. She enjoyed nature's beauty and loved to hunt, shoot guns, fish, wrangle snakes, plant flowers, and they said she could gut a deer better than most grown men. She loved her dogs, her chickens, and her cat. She also played softball and soccer. They believed she was an angel on earth. And that's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.